What we've been able to do is tap into the user level, not the kidnappers, but the next level, which is the ones who create the supply and demand, the people who would not go to a street corner and risk kidnapping a child themselves for their own use. They will pay because they have the means, the money, the power to do so. And a couple of months ago, we received some extremely good information, which has all been accurate. So we're pursuing in that area. It's not complete yet. We still have more to do.
Okay, now back to Jim for a moment here. Jim, you've said that this problem is not going to go away, and you've given recommendations in the past on how to maybe correct this problem. First of all, I think people need to understand that it could be their kid next. You've always said that the Johnny Gosch case is a very good case to look at. It represents how many other kids, hundreds, thousands, have been kidnapped over the years. So let's go into the particulars of what needs to be done in the beginning. Noreen just talked about this user level. I think if you dry up the user level, you're going to take away the incentive for the people who actually do the kidnappings for money, correct?
Yes, that is definitely true. And that's one of the biggest problems we have. Nobody wants to go after the users because these users many times are very influential people. And not only that, is they're also very adept at compromising other people to cover this stuff up. And that is the heart of our problem. The second part of that is the initial law enforcement involvement, where a detective or police officer will go out and do his job, but then is interfered with by higher-ups, maybe be in law enforcement or from the outside. And then you do also have the police officers who realize that if they do anything with this, their careers are over with. So that is where those are the two major problems. You need to have something to make the police officer do his job, and then also punish anybody who interferes with him. And second of all, the users, there has to be a concentrated effort to identify these users. We were able to do this in an investigation that we had done during the 70s with the New York City Police Department, the FBI, the Internal Revenue Service, and a number of police agencies around the country. And that was only because we found some police officers in Minneapolis, Columbus, Ohio, Chicago, New York, and other parts of the country that were dedicated and didn't care who they took on.
Right, and when you got to that level, the investigations then were quashed by the New York District Attorney, like you've talked on other shows. He's still, I think he's still there today, Mr. Morgenthau, but he's leaving office, I believe.
Yes, thank goodness he's finally quitting.
Right, and here's the point. In your case, people that are listening, right here you have two people on both ends of this story. Jim, the police investigator, trying to get to the truth. Noreen, one of the few parents in this country who has taken the extra mile, never quit on trying to find her son through a tremendous amount of pressure. So we see here, we have Jim who, let's talk about what happened to both of these people. Let's start with Noreen. We have Noreen Gosch, whose son was kidnapped. There was a shoddy police investigation from the beginning. They didn't want to get to the truth. They were covering up things from day one. When within hours, people knew that he was kidnapped. The police ignored it, allowed these people just to get away in the first 72 hours, which Jim Rothstein said is critical, because if you don't find these kids within the first couple days, the chances grow quite slim that you'll ever find them. So the police officer in Des Moines, the head of the department, he covers it up. And I think what we're going to do now is show what, in two methods here, Noreen. First, tell us, and don't leave out any organizational names, people that are listening need to understand at your local level in Des Moines how all of these organizations, the newspaper he worked for, the police department, the FBI, and then even religious organizations like churches who preach God and the gospel didn't come to your rescue. Everybody seemed to just forget about it and listen to the liars that were controlling this investigation from the top. Tell us about that, and tell us some of the organizations that need to be exposed for the responsibility of taking your son's life away from you and him.
In the West Des Moines area, it starts with the police chief at that time, Orville Cooney. He was the one making the decisions on the case at that level, his jurisdiction. He, and Jim can verify this, he was called the morning of the kidnapping and told not to take action, basically to stand down. And that means nobody was looking for Johnny except his family. Now, whoever made that call had some power to wield because they could call off a whole police department. The police chief then made statements and contacted the editor of the Des Moines Register. And the editor of the Des Moines Register went into the newsroom and told all of the reporters that as they cover the Gosch case, they were being instructed to slant every article against the parents. And a reporter that worked down there contacted me and told me what the editor did. His name was James Gannon. He's no longer here in Des Moines, but that's what he did. The FBI did not come in because the police chief told them he did not want their help. The state police had a presence there during meetings, but they weren't doing anything. So when you can control that many aspects that would be involved in a case, you control the case. Same thing happened in Omaha, Nebraska with the Franklin case. As all of that unfolded, the media was controlled, the police were being controlled. Everybody that wanted to use this as a cover-up in Johnny's case all had a part in this. And I know that sounds like it's way out there or something that would be made for a movie or a CSI program, but that is exactly what happens in human trafficking networks. And this was the early days of human trafficking as we know it now.
Okay, let me switch over to Jim. You heard what Noreen said, and tell us if this is typical in other investigations that you have worked on throughout the years.
Oh, most definitely. Personally, the cases that I worked on, even after the governor of New York put myself and my partner Matty Rosenthal on the New York State Select Committee on Crime with a mandate to look at the effects these crimes were having on society, the biggest obstacle we had was the New York City Police Department. And let's bring this up to the present date. Just last week, I called a Detective Wong with the Milwaukee Police Department and told him about some guy that just died by the name of Vernon Seitz. I had personally interviewed Vernon Seitz, and Vernon Seitz himself was a victim at a young age where he participated in a sacrifice where he was involved in killing a little child for sacrificial purposes. And I called this detective because Vernon Seitz started talking about his involvement and his knowledge of Jeffrey Dahmer, Berkowitz, the Son of Sam killer, and some other things that I was very familiar with in Wisconsin. And this guy started basically playing me for a fool. And we said, you've got the search warrant returns, and in it verifies all the things that we said that he told us in our interviews.